Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do a fruit still life. We're going to be doing it with some nice blending techniques. So hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about some of the techniques that I use to get smooth blending. So let's get started. Okay, so this is our reference image. Just love the really dark, kind of almost moody feeling that this photograph had. So we're going to start out with a coat of burnt umber on an 8x10 inch canvas panel. I've got the Fredrix Belgian linen canvas board that I'll be using tonight. They provide all of our canvases, and we thank them for being our canvas sponsor. They don't pay me for this, but I do like their canvases, so it's a win-win. Let me see if I can get that light from shining on our... You're going to have to help me there, hon, because there's a light shining across my canvas here. Okay. If you're listening. Okay. All right, so again, this is burnt umber. Go ahead and put the palette colors up there, and I'll go through that while you're trying to get... I didn't notice that. It just must have just started the sun going down just when we started. All right, I've got Unbleached Titanium, Titanium White, Zinc White, Quinacridone Magenta, Cadmium Red Light. This is Yellow, Indian Yellow Hue, Cadmium Yellow Medium, Yellow Oxide, let me see, Phthalo Green Yellow Shade. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by Mark. Phthalo Blue Green Shade, Ultramarine Blue, Burnt Sienna, Burnt Umber, and Carbon Black. I'm not sure if we'll need the black, but I thought we did put it out just in case. And we're going to use just a variety of brushes here. I really like using the angle brushes for blending. So I've got a couple of angle brushes here. They're the VelvetTouch Princeton 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch. I'm also going to probably be using the number 4 Filbert for some of the blending. And the number 10 Bright for the background and some of the background techniques, possibly putting in some of our main colors. And then number 1 Round for the stem, and Willow's blender possibly for some of the streaks in the apples. We'll see. And then you'll also want like a toothbrush or a fan brush to do some splattering. So yeah, hashtag splatter movement. We got. And then we've got a sea sponge here that I'm going to be using. I've dampened it with just a little bit of water. Wring it out really well. And we'll be using that for the background. So we'll get started on that. I'm going to grab some of the burnt umber. I probably don't have out enough of that burnt umber. Go ahead and just put a little fresh dollop out there. How are you doing tonight, hon? I forgot to introduce you.
Hey there, everybody.
Got my husband Mark with me. He's the man in chat for our live show. So if you've got questions, you can ask those. We're just all discombobulated tonight.
Yes, and I'm trying to adjust the audios here. Seems like
really?
They're a little low, so...
They're not working?
Well, no, they're working.
Okay.
They're just a little low, so I'm trying to get them up there for everybody.
Got it. Okay, so we've done the coat of the burnt umber on there already. Right now, what I'm just doing is adding a little texture, but kind of breaking up the lines here. You can see where the color didn't cover completely the first time around, but that's okay. We're going to just kind of use this sponge to go over. I've just got my drawing here, but I'm going to go ahead and draw it again for you, so don't worry about that. I'm just going to go right over my lines. I drew it, and then I realized I wanted to do this in the background, so... You could do yours more plain if you don't want to have to, do anything fancy with your background. You can just leave it plain. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because I want to have plenty of time to work on our fruit. But I did want to do a little bit of that kind of, rough texture on the stone in the background of this. So I'm going to pick up just a little bit of Unbleached Titanium, and when you're working with a sponge, you really don't want to have a lot of paint on there. So you may want to keep a towel handy and just kind of tap it and test it. If you've got a big thick clumps of paint happening, then you know that you've got too much. So just dab it off on a paper towel, especially before you reload. Like if you like doing this here, I've got a new color on here and I've kind of lightened it up a little bit. So I'm gonna pounce it really well into that sea sponge and then test it on a paper towel. Make sure it's not too heavy. And then I'm going to very lightly, and probably you've already stippled at least once in your painting career. If you haven't, you've missing out, because this was really popular on wall, like for wall texture, for a long time. You saw a lot of faux finished like pouncing, stippling, sponging. And I'm staying fairly close together, kind of. Actually, I don't want it really dark, really bright right there. Kind of creating some sort of like, I don't know, little ledges happening. So I'm gonna kind of go pretty close together on this section that sort of zigzags right there, and then there's another little one that kind of sticks out right here. If you get it too dark, don't worry about it. Really what we're going for here is sort of having this texture in the background. So we want to be able to see some of that stippling, and then we're going to put a glaze over the top so it'll kind of even it all out once it dries. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Okay, now I'm just using the back end of the sponge to kind of blend it in a little bit, kind of smooth out some of these edges. The paint's still wet a little bit, so it's kind of lightly blending it in, so it doesn't have such hard, pronounced edges. Look a little bit more part of the background, a little softer. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to take most of that off there, and then I'm going to grab some of this black, so I'm going to go ahead and use the black. And I'm going to pounce that in. And I'm going to use that kind of between these right here. There's some really dark area right in here. So I'm just going to shadow a little bit, maybe do a little bit on the front side of some of that lighter shadow right there. A little bit down low. Okay, and now turn it around and just kind of soften those edges up just a little bit. Now, if you've taken, if your white is starting to dry, like, or the lighter version is starting to dry, you'll want to just stop and let it dry completely before you do this black, because you don't want to lift off any of the white, and it can start to do that if you mess with it too much while it's in the middle of its drying period. So this is kind of how you can get some stone sort of looking effect. I think it's looking pretty good there. I think the key is just softening it. It can look kind of artificial unless you kind of go back in and sort of just go over it with a damp sponge. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to set that aside. I've got my fingers all nice and dirty now. Check. Did you get your audio figured out there, hon?
I think so.
Good.
So I had an excuse of why I wasn't listening to you at the beginning. So paintbrushes we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, talked about the paintbrushes, talked about the... I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom here. Let's go ahead and use this brush here. And I'm going to just run it through the black and grab some of this Unbleached Titanium, burnt umber, create a gray. And I'm running it through so I'm getting kind of streaks on my brush. I don't want it to be a solid color. And I will go ahead and just lightly kind of skim it along the canvas, and I have marked out about a quarter down the canvas. So if you kind of go about the halfway mark, your line it's just maybe just below the quarter line. So it's about just gonna do it like that so I get it straight. We're gonna shadow, so
That was a pretty good trick. No rulers needed here.
yeah, if you kind of rest one of your fingers along the edge and just kind of run it along the side, it'll just catch.
There's that finger math again.
I know. Hey,
It's all
my
over.
favorite kind. It works. I wouldn't do it if it didn't work. It's a lot faster than pulling out a ruler, that's for sure. Who has time for that?
You're kind of going off
Okay.
at an angle.
Thanks.
Well,
We're kind of zoomed in there. Okay.
so hi everybody. Welcome to the channel. I think we're about settled in finally.
Hopefully.
We're about 10 minutes in this, so
Got a little bit of burnt umber here. I'm just going to run it side to side over. Just go ahead. Keep going. I'm just...
oh no, yeah, I know you're teaching painting for some reason over there. Whatever. No, just welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here with Angela, and hit the subscribe button. You can get notifications. Hit the bell, right?
Yep.
For,
Yeah, if you want to get, weekly updates and don't want to miss out on any of our videos, you can click this little subscribe bell. Once you subscribe, there's a bell. I'm sorry, I can't use my words today. I don't know what is
That's
wrong with
okay.
me.
And Angela has hundreds of videos ranging from easy kids beginner level all the way up to some more difficult advanced level
I do
in all
that.
types of genres except for tanks. So sorry if that's your thing.
Maybe someday.
Someday.
Maybe someday. You
Someday.
can only dream.
Yeah.
All right, I think this is dry enough. I just kind of wiped off. I didn't want a hard line across my pear there. Or is that a peach? I guess it's a peach. It could be an apple. I don't know. I think it's a peach. Well, I know this part's a peach, but then when I got to looking at the fruit, it kind of looks a little bit more like an apple.
Oh,
But
so you think they just put a peach slice next
I'm
to the
thinking
apple?
it might be. I don't know, but I called it a peach. So, all right. So we've got our horizon line there. It is marked about at the quarter mark, maybe just below. And then our pear and whatever this fruit is are going to be just about a 1/4 inch underneath. So that's where they're going to set, is just underneath that horizon line. Or not horizon line, what is that? I don't know. I'm not even going to try to talk today. I'm just going to show.
Your desk?
There should be a name for that. I don't know what it is. I'm going to leave enough room for the stem up here on our pear. So he is, let's see, he's kind of fitting in. If this is our halfway mark and this is our 1/4 mark, so he's going to like be just below the 1/4 mark up here and go all the way down to just below the 1/4 mark here. So the top of it is kind of angled like this. And the top of the pear is sort of an A shape. So I'm going to kind of curve it a little bit this way. And so if you think of kind of almost like a triangle right there. And then the bottom, you can kind of do a smushed circle. The bottom is sort of flat. It kind of does a circle and it meets up with this part here. Like that. They're pretty easy to draw. I might make it a little bit wider on
And
this
you have
side.
a whole video on just pears. Just a pear, huh?
Just a pear.
That's one of your kids' classes, I think you did. In your
I
early
have
ones.
a video on just a pear. Yep.
Yep.
I sure do. It's a lot easier than this one. It's going to be. This one I'm, going to really try to get some good shading. So if you've always kind of wanted to do, figure out, how to shade, this is going to be a good one for you. All right, so I'm going to round it out on the pear apple thing right here. It's a little bit, it's not quite round, it's sort of flat on the top. Pretty sure it's an apple. And then this peach slice.
It does look like an apple up close.
It does. I think it is.
Looked over Angela's shoulder kind of awkwardly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sorry.
So I did a diagonal line this way. That'll be the top of the piece of fruit. And then we're going to curve it back around. And then right here, it's going to split. So this is going to come out and curve up. And then you're going to split it right here and curve it back down like that. So you're seeing a little bit of the underside of the fruit. And it curves in, so don't do like a straight, triangle there. It curves in quite a bit before it comes to that corner, and the same thing here. It curves in like that, and then there's a kind of a wedge out of it. This goes almost to the end here, and that part will be gone. Okay. So there's our drawing. Not too bad. Let's grab the Filbert here. This is the Summit 6100 series. Love these brushes. They're really nice and flexible. They're really nice for blending. They hold a lot of paint, and that makes it a little bit easier when you're blending. You don't have to reload it quite as often. All right, so I'm going to grab some white, and first thing I'm going to do is put down a color that is way lighter than what I want it to end up being. So I'm going to use some yellow, some white, and some green here, maybe even a little bit of the yellow oxide, and create a very soft, bright green, quite light. I think that's pretty good. And let's go ahead and mix up a little bit of more medium color. That yellow oxide will kind of help neutralize the green, so it's not so, it's got a lot of kind of earthiness to it, so it doesn't, it'll kind of neutralize the brightness of that green. I'm adding a little bit of burnt sienna to do the same. Just kind of, it's kind of a reddish brown, and it'll counteract the greens because it's opposite, green and brown opposite on the color wheel. All right, I'm just going to use this Filbert and fill in the pear. I'm not worried about my shading right now. I'm just going to cover that dark background. We've got so much dark in there. So I'm doing that half with kind of that darker green, and then I'll do the other half with the brighter green.
Chad
A little bit of water. Mm-hmm.
Chad is jumping in with some pear facts.
Ooh.
So
Stepping up with the pear facts.
I haven't fact checked this.
Okay.
So we'll blame it on Shady if they're wrong.
Okay.
I mean, her name. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Don't diss Shady. She sent you snacks.
Oh,
so.
that's right. Oops. Sorry, Shady. Yes, actually, I brought some into work because I work for a French company.
Oh, I bet those were popular.
And one of the French guys was like, "Oh," I was like, "Yes, you can't have it."
Oh, you didn't share?
Of course not. Why would I do that?
That's just cruel.
That's silly. Just eat it in front of them.
It's just mean.
Come on, I'm the boss. I can do it.
Okay, all right.
So anyways, says that artistic representation of pears can draw inspiration from the ancient Chinese belief of a pear symbol of immortality.
Interesting.
I like how you whispered interesting.
Interesting. That's very deep. I like it. All right. I think it's pretty good. There. This part's going to be all pretty dark, so really could have left that out. I'm going to paint back in that dark brown right there. Okay. It's going to look worse before it looks better, so just trust it. Trust the process. It's going to look really bad, and you're going to think you're doing it wrong. And then all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, I get it now. Looks good. It's just the magic of acrylic painting. It's really, can be very frustrating at times because you'll think that you're doing it wrong up until the very last layer, and then it all kind of comes together and you're like, phew, okay, it worked.
Well, that's for sure one of the more surprising things that, for me, I'm thinking, okay, well, I just grab green paint, paint it on, and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And not realize, no, there's like 4, 6, 10 layers of different colors and
Right.
in varying tones to get you that exact look that you're looking for. So,
Yep. Very
gotta
true.
press through that whole beginning part.
Mm-hmm.
Go, okay, well, that doesn't look anything like the picture. What did I do wrong?
Right.
Well, nothing yet.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing wrong. Just not finished yet. That's all. All right, so I've mixed up some cadmium yellow medium, some yellow oxide, and my white, a little bit of white. This is definitely one where, like, if you have trouble with, blending in tight spaces like this, you may want to paint the whole apple and then paint the slice on top at the very end. That's totally fine. Or just leave it out altogether. That's totally fine too. It's your painting. So just think about that when you're doing it, because it may be difficult if you're kind of new to painting. This will be the hardest part right here. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. Hopefully, if you kind of follow the techniques I'm going to show you. But the overlapping is always tricky. And you notice when I'm putting this on, I'm also kind of going by the direction that the streaks in the fruit happen. So I'm not going to fill it in this way. I'm going to fill it in kind of in that natural curved way that the lines in the fruit fall. What were you saying?
I was just going to ask you, how are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm doing good.
Yeah. I just turned on water cam.
Ooh, okay.
So.
I'll try to use it. Here, I'll get a little water.
Wow.
Yeah, remember to hydrate your brush. That's one of the things. I get a lot of comments about people sending me pictures saying that they, showing their paint broken up, like you can kind of see it doing it right there. It just means my brush was dry and I just needed to add more water to it. So I added Cadmium Red Light. I really can't talk today. What is wrong with me? I got all zen blissed out. I got a pedicure just before the show, so I'm all just like relaxed. Like, it's nice. It's been a couple of years since I've had a pedicure.
It wasn't for me.
Huh?
It wasn't from me.
No.
So the green on the pear you mixed up, is that what that big splotch is on the thing? Okay.
Yes, I mixed it. Was yellow. It was yellow oxide and green and a little bit of burnt sienna and white.
So people who may have just jumped in and are new, the video, we'll do this live stream, and then after we're done, it'll take a little while for it to process, but then it goes up and it's permanent on YouTube, so you can come back later on tonight, tomorrow.
Yeah, and you can watch it while you're painting it and kind of rewind and slow it down or speed it up. There's a little if you're watching it, especially on a computer, there's a little icon, a little cog in the bottom corner, I think, that allows you to speed it up or slow down a video. So
yeah, I think people complain that you paint too slow, so they might want to speed it up a little bit.
Okay. Not true. All right, so I've thinned down the unbleached titanium, so I'm going to start glazing a little bit of color in this background area, and I'm just sort of tapping. I've got very, very little paint. If it's going on too thick, you're doing it wrong. You've got way too much paint on your brush. If it goes on and it's just like, whoa, you can't see any of the texture through it, or then just kind of wipe it off and wipe off your brush on a paper towel. So keep a paper towel handy and just you may just kind of get in the habit of wiping your brush every time before you go to the canvas. Just load it up, wipe it off, then go to the canvas. And that way you're not going to get it too dark. And we're going a little bit lighter than we want it to end up being. So don't worry too much about it being too bright at this point. It's going to be glazed over with the darker color too. So just adding raised areas on our rock face. I don't know if anybody wanted to learn this tonight, but it's bonus. I just thought, I don't think I've taught this, so why not? I once did this kind of technique up, how big was the wall up there in Pasta Grill in Conway? On a ladder.
That's pretty big area.
20, no, not 20 feet, probably about 15 feet high, if that. Something like that. I was scared to death doing this with the big sponges and putting it on and then wiping it off and then doing the glazing. Oh my gosh, the whole upper wall. Thankfully it was like the top 3 feet of the wall, so it was like all exposed brick down below and it was old stucco. It looked really cool, but I was so scared I was going to fall off that ladder. Nobody was there because it was not open yet, so I was by myself most of the time. Really was very not smart, honestly, now that I think about it. But it's fun. All right, so I've got burnt umber here, and I've thinned it down with a little bit of water. Ooh, super chat.
This super chat is from Brenda. And she says, just got commission for 3 different variations of your original angel painting.
Wow.
Thank you both. Thank to you both of all of your hard work in teaching us to paint.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Congratulations. And thank you. We appreciate it, Brenda.
Yes, we do.
Put a lot of work into teaching you guys how to paint, so it's about time you learned. Jeez.
Stop.
Oh, okay, fine. I mean, I did that one house painting.
You did. You did do that. This is true. Okay. I'm going to grab a little bit of, let's go ahead and use Ultramarine Blue and Burnt Umber. Makes a really lovely black. We'll use that down here. I'm just going to create some texture in our foreground. It's kind of almost like wood here, so there's not a whole lot of it visible, but just doing some little zigzaggy thin lines there, give it a little texture. We can add a little bit more of the Unbleached Titanium. I want to add a little tiny bit of green. Sounds like kind of weird, but I'm seeing just a little bit of a green tint to the highlights. So I'm going to just run that touch of green through this brown black color I have here and some burnt, Unbleached Titanium. Wipe it off and side to side there.
So at least your title isn't off. I mean, there is a peach slice in there.
What?
The title of our video is Pear and Peach Still Life.
Right.
So there's a slice of a freestone peach.
Right.
So we're good.
It's fine. Okay, just added a little bit of black there. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the burnt umber and ultramarine blue. Oh, wow, didn't mean to do that much. It's all right. You may need it. We'll put in our shadow that's under here. So right from the bottom of the peach, just a little bit below the bottom of the peach, there's this dark shadow that runs across. And don't worry if this part blends with this part. It really is, in the photograph, you cannot tell where the line is right here. So we have it in the right place. That's all we need to know. Now we're going to disappear it underneath our fruit here. So it kind of comes out a little bit there. Okay. Gonna go right up underneath. There is a shadow that falls right underneath that peel. There's just a tiny little wedge of lighter color right here. Right there. So don't get rid of that. right, so we just want to make sure that this first coat is really thoroughly dry before we do any of this next blending technique. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my 3/8 inch angle brush. I may not need the smaller angle, we'll see. I'm going to make up some light brown with the yellow oxide, burnt sienna, burnt umber here. Looks pretty good. Wipe my brush off. And then we go at the top here of the pear. And add this kind of dark area here, and I'm just kind of using the tip of the brush to sort of draw it in and then pull it down just a little bit. Don't have to blend it all the way in right now. I think I need to bring that rounded out a little bit more. Grab a little bit of green and burnt umber there. I'm going to bring this around a little bit more. Green, yellow oxide, I think that was what was on that side. A little bit of burnt sienna. There we go. I'm going to round this out a little bit more. This is where I make edits. Usually do just kind of like paint straight onto the canvas, chalk it out really lightly like I did, and then, you know, paint straight onto the canvas, and then I will make edits in the composition and my drawing as I paint. Sometimes it's easier to see some of the changes I want to make once I'm kind of in the middle of the process. So once you get the paint on there onto the canvas and you're like, oh, okay, I need more whatever on this side, you know. So I'm going to grab some burnt umber there and just add that along the side. Now this is getting dry right here. So what I'm going to do is grab a little bit of water, wipe off my brush, and lightly run over it. I want to catch it before it dries completely. If it starts to lift, which means like right here, that color is trying to come off the canvas, just want to leave that part alone. We'll smooth that out later, but right now we're just trying to get some start to build up our layers of color. You can. I need to move this over a little bit. Uh-oh. Ooh, I almost unplugged it there. That wasn't good. Did not like that. Alright, so we need cadmium yellow, yellow oxide, or I'm sorry, cadmium yellow, phthalo green, and white here. So this is a little bit more of a yellow-green color. Just going to lightly tap it in over the top, leaving a little bit of that other green underneath showing through. This is where I'm just going to try to get it tint it a little bit with this color and make sure I've got a good coverage on my peach. A little bit of water picked up. A little bit more of this color. The white in it will help it be more kind of opaque, so not kind of, more opaque. And that way, if you've got any areas of the dark that are peeking through too much, you can go a little thicker with it. Just make sure that it's covered. Right, and then I'm going to I have a little bit of this khaki color that we used over here, a little bit of the phthalo green to it, and some water. This should be dry now. You can do these layers pretty quickly on these. They dry pretty quickly, so just want to move fast. And the nice thing is this is a fairly easy shape. So if you go outside your lines or anything like that, you can always kind of touch it up. So I would not be afraid of kind of really getting in there and moving quickly so that you can get that blended, well blended. So we've added a little bit of that prettier green in there now. That's just a piece of the canvas texture there we're seeing sticking out. Okay. Grab some phthalo blue and some burnt sienna here, and I'm mixing it in with that green color that's over here. And I'm going to go along the edge. Just use the tip of the brush. Just lightly skim on some color. And I'm going to put it a little bit heavier down in here. This shadow is going to disappear on us pretty much, but I do want a little bit of this color kind of bleeding up into the pear on the bottom. Make sure that you're kind of paying attention to the direction that I'm doing my brush strokes. So as I'm coming up around the pear, I'm always kind of pointing the brush in the direction that I want the blend to go. So around here, I'm kind of rounding in my brush strokes out. When I get to the middle, I'm kind of going straight up and down. And then when I'm getting to this side, I'm kind of pulling it towards the center. So I'm always kind of aware of where the center of my pear is and where I want my brush strokes pointing. Because it's really easy to get into the groove and start doing like this and blending in this way. And then you'll get these weird lines that are not where they're supposed to be. And it can be hard to kind of get them out of there once they're in. So let's put in some of this shadow that happens right in the middle of the pear. I have so little paint on there you can't even see it on my brush really. So we're dry brushing and then we're going to glaze and dry brush and glaze. And that's what builds up those kind of more natural looking layers. All right, so let's do the pear peach, papple.
It'll be whatever. I know it's not a grape.
Exactly.
And you keep talking about glazing, and I'm thinking about donuts. So
You're getting hungry over there. I can tell it's dinner time.
We can turn about anything into food.
That's true. We pretty much always do that anyway, so we don't need an excuse for that. So happens that we're actually painting fruit for a change. Or food, we don't do that very often, if ever. I can't think of the last time I painted something edible.
Probably that original pear drawing painting.
Probably.
You did an ice cream cone for a kid series one.
Oh, I did. Yes, that's true. Okay, so doing a second coat on there because it was kind of still showing some of that brown through. Let's go ahead and grab some more of that yellow. That was cadmium yellow and white. Oh, somebody was complaining the other day that I wasn't telling the colors enough, but I always tell them at least once. So you just have to listen really carefully and watch what I'm doing on the palette. So yes, sometimes I go quickly. Well, I'm just saying, I always tell you what I'm doing. It may not be like right when I first pick up the paint on my brush, but I always hopefully I do end up telling you what I did. Even if it's at the end of a really interesting story. So
about Orioles.
Interesting to me. Yeah. I'm going to just go ahead and go right straight down to that, and then that way we don't have to worry about any kind of gaps. We'll paint that part of the fruit over the top. Okay, so that was a little bit of yellow Indian yellow mixed in with the... I'll go ahead and grab some. Start out with cadmium yellow and white there, and then I added some of the Indian yellow, and now I'm adding a little bit of the yellow oxide. So as we move away from this side, we're going to move toward more reddish colors, but I'm still wanting this kind of orangey color on the underside, so that's not wanting to cover right there. One stick. The more I mess with this, the more it's just going to lift. You see what it's doing? It wants to be left alone while it's drying. Okay, wait, I just got it. I went in with some thick paint. Sometimes you can get it to stick if you go in with thick enough paint and kind of glue it down, but it didn't like that I was messing with it because it was not dry. So let's do some of this color kind of along the bottom of our wedge. And I'm lightly blending it in. So I'll put the color down where I want it darkest, right along that edge. And then I get my lighter color. And I can kind of blend over the top while it's wet. Pull this color that was already there down into the wet paint. I don't have a lot of paint on my brush. Just kind of letting them lightly blend. There we go. I'm going to get some glazing liquid out.
I know you don't care, but you did paint lemons also.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Van Gogh.
Yeah, Van Gogh. And the donut talk happened then too. And then we talked about the Jim Gaffigan routine about how you never see paintings of donuts.
Yeah.
Only fruit.
Only fruit. You can leave fruit and leave the room, and it'll still be there when you come back.
Right.
But you can't leave a donut in the room.
You come back, it's like, hey, who ate my donut?
Yeah.
That's very true.
Very true. At least in our house. The 3 boys. Got a little net in here.
4 boys. I always told people that I had 3 kids and you had 4.
That's about right. All right, I'm going to use my wet towel now to wipe off my chalk, and it can help me see what I've got going on my edges. If I need to clean anything up or anything like that, it looks pretty good. I think I'm going to use a little bit of this Unbleached Titanium. Maybe a tiny bit of the brown. And I want to make sure I have that little part right there dark enough, or bright enough, I should say. There's like a highlight that happens right there. I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of this. Just a little bit lighter than what I already had down there. Keeping it horizontal. Let's use a little bit of this Cadmium Red Light, a little bit of magenta. My magenta's drying out. I need to spray it. Use a little spray bottle to kind of help your paint stay moist. Good practice.
Wish we had a side camera that would show all that. Oh, wait a minute.
We do.
I just turned it on.
Nice. Good job, hon.
I'll come over there and reenact the spray bottle.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Man, so realistic.
We are in a weird mood tonight, guys. I'm sorry. Just apologize.
It's pollen season, so
We're all medicated.
we're medicated up.
Good enough excuse for some of you have heard. Okay. I'm going to fill in this bottom part of the wedge. You may need to switch to a smaller brush if you need to. I've got Quinacridone Magenta, Burnt Sienna, Unbleached Titanium. Yeah, that. Here, let's switch to this brush. Get the 1/4 inch angle. I've got water on my brush. I'm just kind of lightly lifting that paint back off there. We'll use the angle brush. It'll be easier to get in that little tight area. And we'll use a little bit of this right here too, to do these little shapes that are in our wedge. We're seeing the inside of it a little bit, so there's some dark area right in here. And then some sort of V shapes that are happening up higher. All right, let's grab Quinacridone, Cadmium Red Light, Burnt Sienna. We're going to use that up here. So put down a good amount of paint all along that edge. And I'll wipe my brush off. Get some water. And go right over that edge and pull it in, just like we did over here. Pull it in before it dries. Because we don't want to end up with a solid line there. If it starts to dry, that's fine. Just let it dry. You don't have to do this all in one step. Just kind of be patient with the process. It may take 3 or 4 times of doing the same thing. But use those brush strokes. So if any streaks do show, it'll just look like it's part of the, anatomy of the fruit. It's not going to be perfectly smooth.
So how difficult?
This one is an advanced painting.
This is
for sure.
Advanced. Okay.
For sure. This would be one of the hardest ones that I've probably done, I would say. Because I'm using the techniques that I did in my fine art paintings. So it'll, it's got several layers but it's great. I think it's really great lesson for You know, even if you don't feel like you're 100% ready for it, try it. I mean, you may surprise yourself. You may be a little bit, you know, and it's always good to try new things, try new techniques, try some blending. Do it on paper maybe. Now, one thing about doing it on paper, though, is that it will dry even faster than canvas will. So just use a little bit more water in your brush when you're doing it on paper. So as I'm getting down on this side, I'm adding more water to my brush before I've got a little glazing liquid in here too. This is golden glazing liquid. Regular glazing liquid, well, now see, sometimes this was starting to dry and I glazed over the top of it and it is lifting. So I'm going to try to blend that in as much as I can, but then I really want to leave it alone so that I can come back in and kind of correct that. That's the most common problem that people have, is that acrylics dry so quickly and these glazing mediums make them even quicker to dry a lot of times. So regular glazing liquid doesn't have the extender that the golden glazing liquid does. So it's almost impossible. I really don't like glazing liquid unless you've got an extender added into it. It just dries way too fast for me. Okay, I'm gonna grab a little bit of glazing liquid, water. I'm going to go ahead and kind of glaze over this area here that's in the middle of the fruit. Pull it down a little bit into the, like it's kind of, you know how like it kind of bleeds the color into leaches it into the fruit. We'll pull it down a little bit there, and then I'm going to put a little bit of it, just a hint of this really ruby color right down in there. Just use my finger to blend it out. I can grab a little bit of water, wipe my brush off, and blend it in. I still have too much paint in there. There we go. There. A little bit more of that burnt sienna color. It's got the Quinacridone Magenta in it. Just solidifying that underside of that peach. And it's dry now, so I'm going to go ahead and do an even darker layer. So I'm going to grab some Quinacridone Magenta and burnt umber. Maybe a tiny bit of Ultramarine Blue, which will make a kind of a grayish red, since the Ultramarine Blue and brown make a black, right? So you're just kind of making, almost like mixing black with your Quinacridone Magenta here. But I definitely want it more magenta. I don't want it to be black. And I'm going to go in here right along the edge. I've got just a little bit of paint on my brush, but a decent amount. I don't want to have too little on there. And go right along that edge. I'm going to repeat the process that I just did. Once I get most of the paint on there, I'm going to just kind of dry brush it toward the center. This over here is still not quite dry yet, so I need to leave it alone. We'll work on our pear some more. Say that, and then I just saw a part on the peach that I want to mess with, so I'm going to grab a little bit of this red and add a little bit of it to the yellow, Indian yellow white mixture. Wipe my brush off, and I'm going to go in here and add it right there. Clean off my brush. Grab some white. cadmium yellow, yellow, Indian yellow. Wipe it off. And I'm going to brighten up that edge right there. Go over that while it's wet. It'll kind of set it back in that reddish color that I've just put in. There we go. Grabbing that Quinacridone Magenta color. So you just want to make sure that that line makes sense, that it's curving all the way around. There, notice I missed this little corner. When I put in my slice wedge, I left a little bit too much open right there. Okay. Okay, here comes the fun part, because this is where we are going to disappear.
Splatter?
And our
Oh, no. Okay.
well, yeah, we can splatter. We can really do it at any point.
Well, you said the fun part. I was like, splatter? What?
I'll wait. I'll do this and then I'll splatter.
I was kidding.
Okay. I'm gonna grab the burnt umber and a little touch of green. Maybe a little bit of the ultramarine blue. I want a really dark color. No white in this. And if it's not dark enough, we can add just a touch of black. We'll see when we get it against here. I want to wipe most of this off, leaving just a little bit. And when I'm wiping it off, I'm wiping the back end of the brush a little bit so that I have a little bit more paint on the tip, and that gives me a little bit more control over how much is loaded onto the canvas. This is wet, and I'm just going to use my finger as I put it on to blend it in small sections. We're just trying to avoid any harsh lines, so I want to build this up gradually so I don't end up with any lines that are obvious starting and stopping points for my shading. Getting a little bit of water. What?
Is there a substitute for Indian yellow?
Hold on, I'm fighting this. I gotta work it really quick. I need to concentrate, sorry.
That's fine. I'm just, according to the color chart I have here, it is a benzimidazolone yellow, nickel complex, and quinacridone. So I don't know if that helps anybody. This chart isn't. I mean, it's got some awesome paint colors.
So you could probably do a little bit of. Okay, it didn't go on completely smoothly right here, but that's all right. Yeah, you can get something similar to it. You add a little bit of the red into your yellow. It's just kind of an orangey yellow. It's real vibrant though. It's a real pretty color. All right, and then this part here is gonna all go away. This whole section right here. when you get done with this, you should not be able to see at all where that edge of the pear is. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of black. And honestly, you could have just not painted that part. I feel like it's a little bit easier to draw it when you have the whole drawing in like we did, you know, but you could just have only painted in the peach part. Now I've got a little bit of water here, and I'm going to create that little halo effect, that the shadow between the darkest edge and the pear. Going just over the edge of that hard line on the shadow. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that this area around it is dark enough. And this can be where we put in the black on our background. So now that we've got it on our brush here, we're just going to use it right in here. I'm going to glaze in this really dark black right there. And then we can use a little bit of it over here. Wipe my brush off, soften the edges, blend it in, leave it really dark where you first set it down. So just kind of set it down a couple places, wipe it off, and then go and kind of peck at the edges of the paint puddle just to kind of blend it in if it needs it. Sometimes it won't need it, but we'll need another coat of that black on there to get it all the way disappeared. And then we're going to need to do the same thing to this side. So we're going to use a little bit of that black and ultramarine blue, or black and burnt umber. And I'm going to, now this one is not as disappeared. The only part that's completely disappeared is right at the very bottom where it touches down onto the thing. There's a shadow right here from the edge of the fruit slice down. Going to use my finger to kind of blend out those edges a little bit. We'll add more to it. Need to bring it up a little bit higher on the fruit right here. How you doing, hon? We're right at the 1 hour mark. Holding out.
Yep.
We're a little bit over an hour, I should say.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm doing great. Just
good.
monitoring chat.
Good, good. Well, we got some problems?
Nope. Oh, well, I mean, all the regular people here, so...
No more than usual.
Yeah, no more than usual. It's all the unusual suspects here.
Nice.
Of course, they're talking about food during a painting video.
Why not?
I wonder if they talk about painting during a food video.
All right, I am using the Willow's blender now. And I'm going to put in these like kind of streaks that happen in this fruit. I've mixed up that red that's our kind of base color. That's that Cadmium Red Light and Quinacridone Magenta and a little bit burnt Sienna. And I kind of ran it through the yellow to pick up a little bit of that color too. Okay, then I'm going to pick up the cadmium yellow and some of the yellow or Indian yellow. Mix that with it, so I'm going to creating a in-between color between this side and this side, and we're going to use that. It's got a little bit of I think I picked up a little bit of that white that was in there. Cadmium yellow is a opaque yellow, so it'll... Sorry, my dog is making all kinds of noises all of a sudden. He's hacking up over there. Off screen. It's not Mark. It's the dog.
Thanks for covering me, babe.
Yeah, you're welcome. He's still doing it. Okay. And I'm just blending back over. Get a little bit of that Indian yellow highlight color. I'm just going to hit it with just a slight, there's kind of like a little halo that happens on the back side there. Reflected light maybe from that bouncing back on it. Right in there. So I'm going back and forth with this so that I don't have a line that happens right across my fruit. Pick up a little bit of water, a little bit of the Quinacridone Magenta and the Cadmium Red Light. Wipe my brush a little bit. He's going to unplug something. He's under there doing something. Digging around. My dog. Not Mark. Yet again, just making sure everybody knows that. I'm talking about the dog.
No, that's funny.
Yeah. Scooter?
He's trying to get his blanket all arranged.
Well, he's pulling on the cords. Cords are okay. Adding a little bit of this yellowish highlight to the underside of the rind of that fruit. We'll glaze back over it, but just want a little bit of that. I'm going to use some white now.
Hey, what is different about the blender brush?
It is, it's a filbert shape, so that's nice. And it's kind of small. It's a little bit smaller, you know, like than your Deerfoot stippler or a rake brush, or I'm sorry, not a rake, fan brush that you might normally use for something like this. So it makes it easy to get in here, but it's firm. It's a stiff bristled brush, so it creates nice kind of streaking. You could use a, if you had a Filbert tog bristle brush, that would probably work similarly to this. You could even use a flat. This is, I really need to be leaving a little bit more time between coats here because it's wanting to fight me a little bit because this paint underneath is not completely dry, but I'm trying to work as quickly as I can, so I'm not really giving it a lot of time to dry. But when you do this, you may want to just step away and let it dry a little bit between your coats of paint. I'm going to get some white right here. Whoops, that's not white. White. White right here. Get look all juicy. Okay, so we're almost there on this whole thing here. Probably need to add a little bit more shading, shadowing. I want a little bit more smooth blending over here, but I'm going to let that set because it's sticky, so we don't want to mess with it anymore until it's fully dry. Grab that. Use a little bit of the Ultramarine Blue with the Phthalo green. Got a little teeny touch of the yellow oxide there. I'm going to wipe my brush clean. This one doesn't have as many streaks, but I do, or not like as much striations, but I'm going to go ahead and use this anyways. See how it goes. Wish me luck. Add a little bit of water here. Glaze with it. Okay, gonna grab the brown and black here. And add it down in here where I need it really, really dark.
Would this translate to a bigger canvas, or?
Oh yeah, yeah, it'd be awesome with on a bigger canvas.
Would it be a little bit easier, do you think, or do you think it's about the same?
Yeah, I would just use bigger brushes, you know. Bigger the canvas, bigger the brush. So you can do all the same techniques. You just need a bigger brush.
That's what I always say.
Bigger the canvas, bigger the brush.
Yeah, I think I got that tattoo.
Stop. Goofball. Such a dork. Okay, disappearing. That's the key to this whole moodiness. See how that just makes it like give it just a really bright spotlight on that pear. If you didn't get rid of that back end there, it wouldn't be nearly as dramatic. So Mark's laughing over there because I said back end, I think.
No, actually, I didn't even hear it.
Oh, okay, good.
But now I did. Now I'll laugh.
Right. Yellow oxide and burnt umber.
Man, I need to get a pellet microphone for you.
Why? Because when I turned away, it's
Yeah, when you
gone.
turn, look that way, it's like, oh.
Okay. Well, I can talk louder when I turn away, if I can remember to do it.
I'm not buying it.
I don't ever remember to talk louder, so. All right, a little bit of burnt umber here. Just want the top, since this is the back side of our fruit, I want that top to be a little bit darker. Not quite that dark, but close. I still want to be able to see it. Do some yellow, pick up some of that shadow green color. Actually, let's go ahead and get a little bit of white, yellow. Wipe most of it off. Grab some of that dark green again. I don't like that green color. I need it to be more yellow. Try yellow oxide. It's better. Grabbing some of that brown color again. Tiny bit of unbleached titanium. See, I remembered. I'm just going to use the tip of my brush to kind of draw in those little rough patches that are on the fruit right there. At the top, there's a few little bruises, like a line. There's one here. You don't have to put those in, but kind of adds a little bit to the realism. Dry brushing some of that brown in there, some spots. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow to this area here. It's a shadow area, but I do want a little bit of it, of that yellow color kind of peeking through. We'll darken it up again, but burnt sienna in the green. going to do lots of layers here. We're just going back and forth until I find the right combo of colors. Just softening up. This needs to be softened right here. So we'll get a little bit of the yellow, a little bit of the green, a little bit of the burnt sienna, a little bit more yellow. I'm going fairly thick with this color. Go right down to the shadow and then go on the inside of your shadow area. So this is kind of our transition color between our lightest area and our darkest area. It's just another, like a shade lighter than these other colors we've been using over here. I'm going to use just a touch of the Unbleached Titanium. My yellow. Still got this green here, and I'm going to start mapping out where I want some of these highlights to go. Softly tapping these in. Kind of lay down the color a little bit and then sort of pick away at the edges. Just blend them in a little bit. Very lightly. So you lay it down kind of heavy where you want it to be brightest. And then with very little paint on your brush, you just kind of peck away at those edges and blend it in to the paint around it. Really bright shadow right here. So I'm putting the edges, kind of the outline of the highlight in right now. Don't blend too much too quickly, or I'm sorry, too long in one place, because it will lift your color. So this is, I call it an advanced technique because you really have to be familiar with the feeling of the paint on the canvas. So you just kind of have to know when the paintbrush feels like it's dragging, and that can be something that really, it just takes time to recognize. So I'm going to use a little bit of this green, this darker green, right along that edge. And I'm going to pull it a little bit towards the center. Wet down my brush and blend that in. Make sure you get it before it dries.
I should pay attention more.
You should?
Yeah, I was
Why?
Chatting, and then I look up and the painting's upside down, and I go, "Oh my gosh, what happened to the camera?" She spun it around. Okay.
I did.
Crisis averted.
Good. Good to know. Good to know you're paying attention. Appreciate it.
That's what I do.
I know. All right. Getting closer. I thought it was going to be an hour painting, but it's not. It's been a while since I've done one of these.
Here, let me look through the
Tuesday night ones. It's been a while since
300
Tuesday night.
videos and see how many you have under an hour.
Not very many.
Let's see. I have one hand, so I should be able to count them all.
Oh, gosh, stop.
I don't need the two hands, so.
Huh?
So I don't need two hands to count them all, for sure.
Ha, ha, ha.
3 hours later.
I know. I'm trying.
Hey, no. This is awesome.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to start glazing. This will even out all our colors a little bit. Just make sure your colors underneath are dry. But I need to kind of, depending on how much blending you need use more or less paint on your brush for this part. So meaning if you need to cover an area really carefully, then use a little bit more paint, go put it on a little bit more opaquely. And if you don't, put it on more thinly. It's pretty self-explanatory, sorry. It's just all of these layers finally built up give you that smoothness. You really don't tend to get it in your first pass. You just kind of have to be patient and let it develop over time, and then it starts to look smooth. Even though no one layer went on completely smooth, if that makes sense. So, okay, I'm going to do yellow with some white now. I'm going to go back in with my angle brush and tap in right where I want my highlights to go. My color underneath is starting to dry and it's getting sticky, so I need to stop. I'm going to I say I need to stop and I don't. I'm getting in trouble here. Okay. No. I'm going to let that dry. Let that dry. Grab some white. Add it to that yellow. And I'm going to go back over here to this. And I'm going to use the edge of my brush and just pull some lines in my... Keep them curved, following the curve of your pear or apple. Papple.
Hashtag papple.
Is there any papple facts?
So when you...
it's probably a thing, honestly. There's probably...
When you post this on social media, hashtag papple.
That needs to be our giveaway, our next giveaway question.
Ooh, okay.
Save it.
I'll write it down.
Remember it. Remember you heard it, folks. We'll do another giveaway soon, and we'll use that as our question. See if you were really paying attention, or if you were talking to each other about food the whole time.
Food.
Food. It was food. Okay. Well, I kind of knew that. It's okay. Those who are listening get the star. They get the... All right. That was no joke. 4th grade, my teacher, Mrs. Myers, she had star charts. And I actually was one of the fastest ones to get my math done, surprisingly enough. Of course, it was 4th grade math, not the higher math that we try to do with our I say jokingly because I'm so bad at math.
2 fingers minus
Right, exactly.
half the width of a hand.
Right. All right. Just trying to still get that top part of that brown. It's just still not looking like I want it to. Getting some yellow, green, brown, darken it up.
Oh, there's a papple pear.
Is there really?
Yep. It really truly is.
That's awesome. A papple pear or a papple?
It says papple pears.
That is too weird.
And you know what?
What?
That might be what's sitting next to that pear.
This might be a papple pear?
No, the apple.
That? Oh, really? It looks like a papple pear?
Yeah.
Okay, well, see? We know what we're talking about.
By accident.
By accident, but yeah. Heck.
Here's a picture.
Oh my gosh, it so is. Here. That is hilarious. And it's like a pear inside instead of an apple?
I guess so.
That's pretty awesome. We learned something new. I'll need to change my title. Everybody's going to be like, what is she?
What's a papple?
What's a papple? All right. Get burnt. Sienna, a little bit of burnt umber here. A tiny bit of the unbleached titanium, but I don't want it really light at this point. I want it just maybe a shade lighter than the background color.
Okay, I got some facts for you when you're ready.
Not quite yet, but give me a second. Getting some unbleached titanium. And I'm going to very lightly pull through that wet paint. Kind of not quite right on the edge, but pretty close to the edge there. Oops, just use my finger to kind of blend it out a little bit. It's not showing up. Okay, I just use the tip of the brush to kind of run some streaks through it. And I'm going to grab some white. Add some white. Right there. I'm going to grab the yellow oxide here, or no, sorry, Indian yellow. Glazing liquid. I'm going to glaze over my highlight area on my papple. Love that word now. I'm going to use it all the time. What?
I'm reading facts. And I'm missing super chat.
Uh-oh.
Good thing all of our fans are moving in chat.
Or you never know.
I knew I missed something. Okay, this one is from, I've gotten the name wrong before. Jan. It's Jan.
Oh, right. Uh-huh.
Says, here's to a pizza. So I send it one more time.
Thank you.
You guys have to eat.
Yes, we do. That's a great idea.
I love
Thank
the
you.
painting.
Aw.
So thank
We
you so much.
appreciate it. Thank you for feeding us again. Got some white here on the tip of my brush. You can turn that off now.
Thanks.
Okay, just using the tip to do some little light streaks. Back in. And we're going to use it over here. This should be dry now, not sticky anymore. I'm going to use the corner of it. Just touch the corner. Let it catch the canvas and break up just a little bit. Dry brushing our highlight. Let's dry brush some all along here. A little bit up top. Now the highlights aren't smooth. They kind of need to be sort of rough like this. This one is not as bright because the fruit, the peel is not as shiny. It's not as smooth. It's probably got that peach fuzz, texture. So it's going to diffuse the light. But this one is real smooth and shiny. So that's why we got a brighter, like harder shadow, harder highlight on the peach side, or pear side, I'm sorry. Still feel like it's a little bit too green. I'm going to use some, let's use our yellow, Indian yellow color with our glazing liquid and just glaze this side of our pear. Now we've kind of used that glaze, that same glaze color on both of them. It'll unify our color scheme too. So it's a win-win. Tones down some of that too green areas. I think I want a little bit softer transition between these two, so I'm going to just use a little bit of the green yellow, a little bit of burnt sienna, yellow oxide green color. Maybe a little tiny touch of the unbleached titanium in there. Adding some soft highlights back over. We use that Indian yellow and the green with some white. Go on the outside of my highlight area here. I just need to make that a little bit bigger. I do this a lot, so just don't panic. I'll add my highlights back in, but just small changes. There we go. All right, now let's glaze one more time with our Indian yellow and green. Maybe it's best to let this dry, but it's sticky enough that it's going to let me glaze right now. And then we'll add our highlight back in with our white. A little bit of water. Actually, oh, I have the Zinc White over here. I was going to use that for some of this highlighting. I forgot all about it. I'll grab this little bit of the Zinc White too. It'll give a softer highlight where I use the Zinc White.
Do you want to show how transparent it is?
And then what?
I got this cool color chart over here. We can show them how transparent it is.
Okay.
You don't have to.
Not right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
Got a little color problem right there. It was trying to lift on me. Address it before it dried. But I'll show it here in a second, hon.
You don't have to.
You see, I use my finger there to just kind of adjust. And I want to use a little bit of the yellow in this area. Brighten that up. And then we're going to use our toothbrush with our brown, burnt umber color. Use a lot of water. You want it to be kind of a milk consistency, quite thin. If you don't have it thin enough, it'll create bigger splatters, too big, or it'll stick to your brush. I should say that, right? If you have too much water, it'll splatter too big. If you have too little water, it won't even come off the toothbrush. So get a little bit of it on your toothbrush, tap off the extra, and then I hold it in my fist and point it straight down at my canvas. Ideally, let it dry, but we're going to live dangerously here. And I'm going to splatter, covering my Pear papple thing. I don't want to get any of this on. All right, and then I'm going to lightly dab it to take off some of the darkness. Soften it a little bit. Especially if you get any where you don't want it to, you can use a dark, like a damp paper towel and just wipe it right off. But and then I want to do, there's some kind of streaking here. I'm going to try to use the fan brush and see if it works. I'm going to use burnt sienna, a bit of Quinacridone Magenta. Just want a red, so you could use Cadmium Red Medium if you had it. Add a little bit of burnt sienna. So I'm mixing the Cadmium Red Light and the Quinacridone to make a red, and then added a little bit of the brown to it just to kind of tone it down. I'm going to use it to scrape. Oh, that's working well. Scrape some of that texture. Make sure the middle is going straight down. Sides are curving, following the fruit. Let's do a little bits in here too. Very, very, very light, very little paint on my brush. Don't want to overdo this. And you could have done this before you did your highlights too if you wanted to. I'm going to do some down here. I need to shadow the bottom of this guy. It needs to be as dark as the other stuff. So it's going to be real dark right down there, just like we did on the other fruit. So I'm using the burnt umber on the tip of my brush here. Just run it down underneath. Disappear that edge on the fruit. Blend it up into And then I'm going to use a little bit of the red, little tiny bit of white, tiny. And I need to highlight this edge right here just so you can see it against the sorry, I'm not supposed to do that. I forgot. Don't be mad at me and leave mean comments, please. I haven't been eating dairy, so it's not that. They told me to stop eating dairy. And I said, block you. That's what I said back. It's like, I was like, that was very nice, and you get blocked.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me know what all of the things I'm doing wrong. So it's just so nice to know that.
What would
makes me feel good,
What would everybody in the world do without them?
Oh, I know. It's just like some people just like I don't even reply to those comments anymore. I used to kind of like get really mad and just defend myself, but now I'm just like block.
So let's talk
Goodbye.
papple. So papple was a fruit that was developed in New Zealand. Its official name is Prim P109.
Okay.
But it is a hybrid of 2 European and Asian pear varieties.
Okay.
So it doesn't have any apple in it at all.
Or peach. But it looks like a peach.
No, I think that is a Freestone peach slice.
Okay, you've got me all confused now.
Your papple, but I think that's a slice of a peach.
Okay.
So anyways.
All right. So this doesn't look like this inside.
Not from the pictures I saw.
I'm so disappointed right now.
But let me look at some more images.
All right, I need to somehow I'm ending up with this weird line right here, and I want to blend that out. So I'm getting some of my yellow. I'm going to go back over, soften that up. I'm getting the color that was right here, or close to it. And what happened was I was trying to blend while this was still drying, and it wasn't dry yet. Grabbing some of my red color, and I'm gonna pray that this does not lift. Ideally, let this dry. Grab some dark brown, pull up. There we go. Whew, we did it. Okay, that was close. Mark's not listening.
Mark is listening a little bit.
Ugh, I'm just getting this little white spot right there. It's driving me crazy. I need to let it set because it's going to just keep doing that. So I'm pretty much done, but I'm waiting on this one little bit to dry. Let me see if I need to do anything more to the pear. I think we're good. I'm going to maybe dry brush some brown on it, on the top.
You didn't even touch that one blue, it looks like.
No, no, I didn't. The Phthalo blue? No, I didn't. Nope. distracted. Getting some white, or the unbleached titanium, the yellow, Indian yellow, and the brown here. We'll see if this is the color I've been looking for the whole time. There we go. It's pretty close. I can darken up this shadow on the back side of this stem here. Gooder's like, it's dinner time. Let's go, guys. It's 8 o'clock. Whoa. It's way past his dinner time.
Don't mind me. I'm just sitting over here.
Oh, no, sorry.
Don't worry about my dinner time.
Well, I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for paint to dry. Literally. Definitely did not expect this to be this long. I'm sorry, guys. We're expecting a short tutorial tonight. A little bit of water, just blending that in right there. Yeah, he's like, I'm just gonna start making noise until you quit. He's like, I'm just gonna make a bunch of noise until I make myself really annoying and you stop doing what you're doing, so you feed me.
Somebody suggested that you can do stickman while you're waiting paint to dry.
Oh. He's like, no. He's like, no. No. He's done. It's our dog. You hungry, Scooter? Oops, I'm off camera there. Still, I don't know. Okay, let's give him a papple.
Steffi says I must look like Stickman by now.
What?
Steffi said that I must look like Stickman by now.
After all this waiting around, we'll give him a pear and an papple on the edge of the boat and keep him company. There we go.
Papple's fresh from New Zealand. Just came over on the boat.
There we go. This Mark's creation there. Stickman. Alright. Almost done. I just need to work on that one little area right there. It's giving me problems. Burnt sienna. A little bit of the reds. Grab some brown. Does not want to stick right there. Get some water. I'm going to work on those edges. All right, that's getting better, closer. It's just not even. He's going into food coma over there.
No, I zoomed in real tight
Oh,
so they
okay.
could see.
Okay. Well, maybe don't do that because I'm not sure if I like it yet. Grabbing some orange and yellow here. Or I should say cadmium red light and yellow, Indian yellow. This is where you stop and dry it with the dryer, hair dryer. Because this is what, it's just going to keep fighting me. Does not want to have color right there because it's just everything else is drying around it. Go ahead and dry this for me, hon. Well, maybe not, I don't know. Let me see if I can get one good dark coat of paint down. We'll see if this works. Get unbleached burnt umber and Quinacridone Magenta. Put it on. Well, no, that's not gonna. There we go. Man. What was happening is that part was still not completely dry. It had so many layers on it that it was just not wanting to accept any new paint. So, and that happens. So you just have to, generally I would put it under the hairdryer and dry it with the hairdryer and then let it then come back and, you know, try to add more layers, but just getting impatient. Nope, it's fine now. I was able to get thick enough paint down. You just have to get your paint thick enough, it'll stick, but really shouldn't do that. You should just let it dry. Don't do that when you do yours. All right, I think I'm done here. I'm just going to a little bit of highlight on this part of the fruit here. Got that reddish color. I'm just adding a little tint to this. Underside of the fruit right there. All right, and then I'm going to use a little bit of the really dark Quinacridone Magenta, a little bit of, maybe a little bit of burnt sienna to add some dark parts in our little peach opening there. A little bit of yellow and white. Add some of that. All right, I think we're good once you zoom out there, hon.
Okay, I've got a question about there's a little white dot space between the peach slice and the papple.
Yes,
bottom.
it's in the thing right there. It's like the separation between the peach and the apple there. So I'm gonna sign it. My Pigma pen here. These are waterproof, light fast, so you can sign your paintings. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and if you try it, you can share with me on my social media. I'll have this traceable for it on Pinterest, or not Pinterest, Patreon. They're $1 a month for all of the traceables for all of my paintings since February 2017, last year. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed it. And we will not have a show on Saturday, but we will be back next Tuesday with lilacs for Mother's Day. All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.